All right, all right, all right. All right, Castledine, another late night doc talk.
Are we starting this thing?
Of course, like I'm not messing around. It's just getting straight to the point. Been busy last week. I just got back from New York and was not the greatest event for me. We had some new big bite baits sent to me that were the new prototypes of infusion smells that we talked about last time we were on here. And I didn't entice very many smallmouth with it, but I probably should have spent a little more time chasing brownfish, but it was a long week for me. But while I was gone, I noticed that you started kicking YouTube in the butt with some videos.
Well, I can't even remember. So this was after ICAST, right? And you left after ICAST, is that correct? Right? You left ICAST and went straight there. I went to Florida.
Yeah.
I went from ICAST, flew back to Houston, drove to Nacogdoches, picked up the wife and kids, and drove back to Florida in the same day.
Wow.
How about that idiocracy?
That's the same thing you did last year when we went to Florida. You did the exact
same.
But
we weren't coming from ICAST. I think we were coming from Scott's thing.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from Scott's, from Key West. But you went straight to Oneida, and it was it did not look. I talked to Andrew, I think, on the way down there or something. He was there, and I called him up, seeing if he was going to ICAST or whatever. And he said, "Yeah, I've caught like one fish." like everyone I talked to a couple people, and it was like one fish a day. And I was like, "Wow, yeah, I missed another awesome Bassmaster Open." I mean,
it's you know what it is. It's a grind.
It's nothing for people to understand this. And like, here's the problem with maybe where we live. Okay. I mean, I live in like the freaking best state in the country to fish just about. Yep. So when I go to these other lakes, I'm just like, this is what y'all got to deal with sometimes. And it's just so different. And I'm like, man, this isn't all that fun. Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying, because you're down there at Rayburn and Toledo, and you got all this.
No, it's not even that. It's like, dude, I go like all the lakes we fish. And it's not even there. Like I go fish for the majority of the last seven years. Like I'll fish certain divisions, right? Just because they're closer. So I fished a lot of. I first started fishing the Oklahoma division. When I say Oklahoma division, Oklahoma was in there, so they'd have Arkansas, Missouri, and I mean, so when I go to Darnell or other than the Arkansas River, which has usually just been junk, just about every place we go is good. I mean, I go to Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock and Darnell, like those places are good. Like I will go fish Table Rock. Like I look for schedules just to find something to go fish on Table Rock. I love that lake. But like these places we go are good. And then it's like we get out of these lakes sometime, like this area, and I don't know why like some of these places are just so bad. Of course, then we had Louisville, which was like horrible, but none of us fished Louisville. Like no one in Texas fishes Louisville. And we went there.
Well, but everything can be good until you put 200 boats on it, and then
everything,
it's all out the door.
It's out the door.
Oneida was like, I really wanted to largemouth fish, and my buddy Kurt Dove had been up there doing a camp, and they had like 30 kids up there for 2 or 3 days, and he told me that he's like, don't do it, Holman. We like 3 or 4 largemouth were weighed in the whole 3 days that we were there. I like chasing them up north. You know, it was harder than I expected, but I knew it was hard through practice, and I just couldn't get the smallmouth deal going. And you know, it was what it was, but the bites that I got were the right ones. I think I had 3 fish for 9 pounds the second day, and like 4 fish for 11 pounds the first day. So I had a 4.5 pounder, and I had some 3.5 pounders through the event, but man, I just needed 5 each day. But I think I ended up missing the check by 2 pounds, and you only weigh in 7 fish out of 10. That's going to hurt you. I needed a couple places to go bank some smallmouth, and I looked for it. I just didn't find it, but I could have used whiskey there behind you. He might have gone. Is he a 2-pounder?
No, he's not 2 pounds yet.
Man.
He,
But hey, dude, while I was gone, you were like making videos, and you popped one on getting blackballed on controversy, and that video has been rocking.
yeah, and like this YouTube thing's crazy, right? Like I don't always get it. This is a video I had like kind of put away. Like I made it a week or two earlier, and I shared it with you, honestly, which I rarely do. And I was like, hey, what do you think about this? Like I don't really know. And then it just sat there. And I made some other stuff and went on to like it was in Florida with my family on vacation, you know, and I was filming stuff out there, like fishing off the beachfront and stuff that I know people probably won't watch it, but I think there's some stuff to it because man, I just grew up fishing off the bank, right? I mean, I still do it. Like I can't go not even on vacation and not fish. Like I don't know what I'm doing out there. I mean, I catch fish. It's awesome. I just go fishing, and while I was down there, I didn't really make anything, and I was like, well, I probably should put something out this week. It's been a while, and I just threw that video out there, and wow,
yeah,
like it got interesting. Now I will say, I'd say about 99% of everything I got, comments and everything, like they got it and like they understood what I was saying. And some have taken it, some just obviously took it. Me and my wife just got into another conversation about 30 minutes ago about this. And she was talking about how I kind of get upset sometimes. Like I don't mind people disagreeing with me. Like I have no problem with people looking at what I'm saying in a different way or in a different light or anything like. And this was just an opinion. That's all it was. You know, right? I didn't say anything about banning it. I didn't say anything about, you know, like there's some things that I didn't say on purpose because I don't really agree with some of the things. And that's why I didn't say it. And the reason I say that is I have these comments that come up and they're like, they start talking about, well, I guess we should just ban everything and these pros and you're complaining. I'm like, whoa. I wasn't even commenting on, like none of that was even in the video, but it's crazy how you can make a video about one thing and then everyone else, like the people that like they went into this video thinking one thing, right? They didn't listen to what I had to say. They didn't like, I was very specific on what I said and how I said it. And then you got other guys that just go completely from right field going, you know, and I'm like, hey, I can't argue with it because I didn't say any of this in the video, but yet you're arguing with me that that's what I'm saying. And I'm like, I'm fine with it. If you can just point out anywhere in the video where I said that, then I'll go along with you. But I'm not going to argue with you because I didn't say any of that. And so it's very good. But besides all that, who cares? That's the 1%ers, right? I ain't worried about the 1%ers. I will say this. I've had some guys reach out to me from in the industry that I was pretty kind of worried about. And I was shocked at what some of them had to say. And it was kind of all good. So, yeah, man, like, hey, what am I going to say? It was truthful. It was how I felt. It was how I was raised. It was where I came from. As we get older, there's a group of us that came up a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the right way. It's not like the way, a lot of people ask me about college fishermen, ask me about college fishing. Can't comment on it. Like we had it, but it was not where it is today. And I told everyone, what would you have done? I was like, I wouldn't have fished college. I wouldn't have fished. Like college fishing was going on right when I started. And I'm like, dude, I was out there on Rayburn fishing against like Harold Allen and Steven Johnston and all these guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at the college deal. It's like, I didn't want to go fish against a bunch of college kids. All my life, I've been fishing against grownups and grown men. And I wouldn't have done it. So, but I'm not saying I was right or wrong. It's just that's how I did it. So I don't have an opinion on college fishing, you know? So,
well, I know that our buddy Randy Blockett, the guy that we fished with on the FLW tour, had made a video of about your video and said that it was the greatest video he had ever done. And I knew we were gonna do this tonight, but I didn't know we were gonna talk and do our, the late night dock talk. But
I wanted to talk about Oneida, but
in between talking to you last time, which was earlier this afternoon, I got a phone call from a guy inside the industry. Actually makes his living, a majority of a part of his living. I wouldn't say all of it, but a part of his living in this industry selling electronics. And he was like, "Hey, dude, I watched that video and I'd kind of like to talk to Todd about that." I was like,
"Oh, that's awesome!" Like that's.
And actually, I decided to bring him on tonight. I was like, "Hey, dude, you want to do it tonight?"
Heck yeah, I like it.
So I've got him right here waiting. John.
Oh, really?
Souckup, if this will work.
Oh,
Mr. Souckup.
Come on, John, come through.
This guy's like, oh, he's sideways.
Oh, he's sideways.
Check out that beard, dude, since the last time I saw you.
Oh,
wow.
There you go. Man, hey, like if that's how he looked through his live scope, I've been doing it all wrong.
He
hey.
Oh,
Here's somebody.
What you doing, Souckup?
Well, I'm reviewing. You see this right here?
Yeah.
This is my 8-page of notes studying the Todd Castledine video. That's what this is right here.
Oh, listen, I already have to, John, I already have to deal with Matt Hanger on the whole freaking fantasy deal. And I wing it with him while he's got 8 pages of notes for every single time we do a Bass Open fantasy or Bass fantasy deal.
Well, John had called me and he was like, "Hey, dude, I was watching Castledine's video and, there's a lot of people watching it." And he's like, "Dude, I agreed with a whole lot of that video. There was just a couple of things that I didn't disagree with." He said, "I would really like to talk to Todd about it." And he was like, "I wouldn't even mind if it was recorded." And I was like, "Well, funny you say that because you want to do it tonight? Because we're doing a deal tonight." He was like, "Yeah, when?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, we usually wait till we get the kids to bed and everything, and you're welcome to come on." So welcome, Souckup, to the late night dock talk with Hallman and Castledine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
So what did you think of the video?
Well, like you said, man, I agree with over 90% of the points and viewpoints. But, and this is nothing negative to Todd at all. And I don't know if Todd remembers this or not. We'll probably get in that. But I drew him and I fished with him in 2011 at an Opens on the Arkansas River. I was one of his co-anglers. And to me, that video does not show the Todd Castledine that I saw in 2011 that embraced the grind. And I felt like it left some things uninspiring to those whose viewpoints were, I don't have the money, I don't have the means, they identified with all these viewpoints. And I just thought it would be cool to have a conversation about, okay, this is the real world. Like I said, I agree with 95% of those things that were said. So what are the life lessons that you've had, Bradley, I've had, Todd, that you've had that can help somebody that's younger so that this doesn't be something that they just listen to and it knocks them out from actually trying and making the effort. And so that's a bunch of my lists and notes is just things that experiences in my own life and how the good and the bad and the things that I would challenge somebody to, whether they're young or older now, to actually become.
Is that notepad really notes just from Todd's video?
Yeah, 100%.
Are you?
This is how this dude's won 2 events already this year, Todd. Holy crap!
Yeah,
that's what.
No,
when I saw him at ICAST, I had to go shake his hand. And I was like, dude, I just got to get a little bit of that luck on me, man. I don't think it's luck though. I just wanted that good mojo on me.
Oh,
No, like, hey, so here's what's crazy, John. A lot of times with these videos, and me and Hallman talk a lot about these videos. And what'll happen is we'll make a video and it always goes certain ways. We never really know which way it's going to go. And I got done with the video and started reading the comments. And I've normally I respond to every comment. There's over 1,000 of them. I'm not going to be able, like for the first time ever, I'm not going to be able to respond to every comment. But I was reading so many of them. So many of them are just like stories. And I read they'd be these long paragraphs, like just stories of these guys. And man, some of them are really deep, man. Some of them were like, they're not fishing anymore because of the money and the family life and all these things, right? And I was reading them all, and I got done, and about a day or two ago, like I was sitting up, and this is usually where my ideas come from. I was like, I wanted to say like, thanks for all the support, guy. Like it wasn't support for me. This wasn't about me, and I think John, you understood that. This was about giving a voice to other people, right? That's all I was doing. Was kind of the whole video was there's a pushback coming, and I'm explaining why there is one. And regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong, here's why there's the pushback, is because people feel a certain way about it, right? Doesn't mean they're right, but I'm just saying that's where the pushback's coming. It's not, that's all it was, right? This is where it's coming from. And I got done and I sat there and I'm like, I really want to go on and make a video, maybe like not saying thank you, but like, hey guys, I read all your stuff. Like, yeah, I can't answer everyone. And then it changed my idea. And I was like, and I told Hallman, I was like, man, I messed up in the video. Like I wasn't right. And it was weird. I was telling him today, I was like, someone right. And I said, I agree with everything I said, but the one thing that I missed was exactly what you said. Like I was 100% wrong in that aspect of it, of going, okay, well, how do I show him that? Well, I was going back home this weekend. It's my mom's birthday and stuff. So we're going back from where I started, where I caught my first bass on Livingston. And I was going to do a whole nother video showing where I came from. Like literally, like I'm going to show like the spot I caught my first bass, like where all that inspired me to like keep going through this grind to make it to where I'm at today. Cause a lot of people looked at it as it bothered me that some were like, you're jealous or complaining about it, or some guys were like, well, maybe if you'd ever go win an event. And I was like, like they didn't realize that I was like, hey man, you can do it. You can still do it, right? All I was saying is how hard I think it's harder. And maybe I'm not, like I said, I don't know how the college thing is right now. Like I'll admit, I don't know if that's an easier way to do it than no. I don't. Did you fish the college circuit?
No,
right? You didn't do that, right? None of us did. So it's one of those things that I really won't ever comment on because I didn't experience it that way. But dude, you're 100% right, John. Like I didn't mislead him, but I just didn't put that in there. And after the video, I was like, I missed it. Like I missed that part of it. And so I'm doing another video. I can't do it. I wanted to make sure, I wanted to go home to do it. I'll be home this weekend. I wanted to film it. I didn't want to do it from my house. I wanted to film it from literally where I walked the banks for 8 to 9 years. I walked the same marina banks every weekend for 8 to 9 years. Like that's where I didn't have a boat. That's how I did it. And so that was my story. And I want to say, hey, you can do it as well. So yes, you're right, John. I missed that part of it. Like I'm at fault. I agree.
That was it. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. No. I think sometimes we I know how videos, you can't get all your points out in one, and you got to take it down one avenue. You can't cover and all the tangents, but sometimes we leave things out because I think there's a great opportunity for, and that's what I was sharing with Bradley, for you and Bradley and all the guys to get together and actually, talk about where we came from in life. Bradley didn't come from a golden spoon. I don't have a golden spoon. There was struggles and trials. My first professional, league event or like season with the MPFL, I'm 39 years old. It's my first time actually fished a season. There's a reason for that. It's life wasn't easy. There was a lot of working towards that to have that opportunity. All those things that you said, I broke them down to like 40 different segments of things. Like, I'm like, yep, and here's my story, and yep, and here's my story. But, so how do you get across to the, especially the youth? I mean, listen, I'd love to inspire a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old man. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to, but especially the youth that are like, I can't do it. My parents don't have money. I can't. And no, that's not the case at all. And, man, like I said, I got all sorts of notes. I don't want to just jump on this thing and talk forever with you guys, but I enjoyed your video because it sparked all these things in me. And it's like, you know what? All we see a lot of times when we're promoting the brands and the companies and stuff we're working with and ourselves and creating something in the fishing industry and trying to win an event, you're talking about the lures you're using this. You don't have an opportunity a lot of times to share what it actually took to get to that point. You watch Michael Jordan make a free throw and win it, or a 3-pointer and win the game, but you never saw all that battle before to actually get to that point where he could make that three. And that's what we're talking about here, is all that struggle that is just embracing how to become a professional fisherman. And everybody's got their own little path or their own little journey.
I think you're spot on. I mean, yeah, I read the comments and you see it a lot, whether it's on social media or whatever, and they're talking about guys that are born with a silver spoon or they've got, mom or dad's money. I think a lot of people know Todd and I's background that watch some of this channel, because a lot of the guys that watch our stuff are Oklahoma, Texas guys anyway, or in this region. Man, I grew up with divorced parents, and I had a dad in Tennessee and Roane County and a mom in Norman, Oklahoma. So I kind of went back and forth, but dude, at 18, I walked out. I mean, I was like ready to get out of the house, right? One of them kids, but I went to work for a plumbing company for a summer job at 18 out of high school. And, I went there and went to school at OU, and I left 13 years later to fish on the Elite Series. And dude, everything that I did between me and my wife, I mean, we bought a little trailer house out at Lake Thunderbird and paid $40,000 for that sucker. Lived in it for 7 years, and she was still in school at OU. She went there for 9 years. And going to law school, I remember her locking herself in that little bitty middle bedroom, just her and the dogs, and studying every night. And I worked 50, 60 hours a week in ditch, laying pipe. And I worked for some really good people, and they were bass fishermen, and they're actually the ones that got me into tournament fishermen. They ran a little club called Hog Haven, still goes on here in Oklahoma. And guys I worked with, other plumbers, took me fishing in their boats. And I remember my first boat I bought was like $5,500 for a Skeeter, 18-footer. I blew the motor up like the week after I bought it, and it cost damn near as much to rebuild that motor as it did to buy the damn thing. And man, I mean, it was some tough learning curves, dude, but yeah, I mean, I made it work, and that boat went to a little bit better boat, and it took a long time. I mean, I never got my first bass boat until I was probably 30. I mean, I just bought used boats the whole time. But I remember Todd going through the same thing. I remember Todd had come so far as a fisherman from when I met him, he could catch them, but he couldn't get the weigh in the multi-day events. It was always a story about how my boat caught on fire today. I mean, it was crazy. I got 28 pounds, but I can't make it to weigh in. I mean, it was literally a problem until he won an event that the first place prize was a boat. And I was like, dude, you need to keep that boat. Don't sell that boat. You need that boat to make it to weigh in for a while. And that literally is what really kind of kickstarted him too.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy. We get into conversations at home, and I think you were there at this conversation, and I'm not going to speak much into it, but we were kind of talking to someone, and they were talking about sponsors and some different things. I don't know if Hallman will remember this, but it was kind of like something was said of, man, I got these sponsors just because they saw how much I love fishing. I was like, huh? He goes, like, they just saw the love I had for fishing. And I was going, man, I wish someone had seen that when I was
I remember that conversation. We were thinking the
I was
same
sitting
thing.
there
I
going,
never
I'm
found
like,
that guy.
let me tell you something about love of fishing. I was like, man, when I was his age, I was in a 10-year-old boat, broke down all the time. I had started going when I went to college. So this is way past college. This isn't, I shouldn't be in college at this point, but I'm still in college because I would go for a semester or two and then fish for a semester and not fish college stuff, like just fish to make a living, like just fish tournaments. So it's like I'm 23, 24 years old and all my friends have graduated, right? And they're starting to make some money. And when I first gone to college, I worked, and I worked at delivering pizzas, and I did that all through.
Can you see Todd making pizzas? Can you see Todd making pizzas?
Hey, I'm telling you, for years, like years, like a long, long time, and I kept that job because I could make some money, work really, really late, like work 2:30 in the morning. I could work 12, 13-hour shifts, make a lot of extra cash. But I never had to work weekends. I would work so hard during the week that I would always have all this time for weekends. We're talking like not 2 or 3 years doing this, like 8 years. And when I was 24, 25, 26 years old, I was still doing that. I was still doing that on the side just to make a couple $100 more a week while I fished. And I was sitting there going, no, let me tell you something. When you're 25, 26 years old, you're about 12 hours short of getting a degree. All your buddies have jobs. And I'm not going to lie, I was slightly embarrassed at times, sitting in there working a job that allowed me to fish. I was sitting there going, no, man, I would say that's love. I would say that's like grinding it out, man, like all them years to just keep doing it and having to put pride aside. Because I always said, even when I qualified for the elites, I don't know if you know this, John, like when I qualified, the only person that told me not to take it was Hallman. He's like, dude, you can't do it, Todd. Like you can fish, but you shouldn't take it. Like you're not in the right area of your life where you have the money to do all this. And I was like, thanks. Because everyone else was sitting there going, this is a dream, man. You got to go do it. You got to go, like, what? And I'm like, my 10-year-old boat that I break down in every event. Like I've had to borrow boats just to qualify. And I'm sitting here going, like this wasn't the right move. And I didn't, and I look back at that, zero regret, zero. Like, but Hallman was like the only person that like looked at it logically, but he was there. He was like, look, man, everyone, I'm getting on the downer part of it again. We all show like the good parts of everyone, but like there's a reality to it, John. You know it. There's a reality of the guys that are really good that don't make it. And here's the problem: you never hear of them again, right? Like they dwindle off, and they're like put to the side, and no one talks about them. And they're really good fishermen. They didn't do anything wrong. They made checks. They did good. It's just they didn't like. There's a lot of things that can happen, and so it's just the reality part of it. But on the flip side, all of us did make it. Like we're still there. Like I might not be on the elites. None of us are, right? But we're all embedded into this industry very deep, and that's something to be said that we've stuck around this long and are still here. Because I always told everyone I just wanted to fish for a living. Like I don't consider myself a pro. I don't. When everyone asks me, I was like, dude, I just fish for a living. That's what I do. Like I fish to make a living. That's what I call myself. I don't call myself a pro, but that's kind of my little story. And there it is.
We've all figured out ways to, and this is what a lot of people don't realize. They're like, oh, well, sponsors are great. I mean, they are. but they haven't been my lifeblood personally for the years that I've been doing it. I've gone off in other business adventures and done things and, saved up money to make an investment here or there and bought some, commercial properties and lease. I know John does some of the same stuff. John's got irons and about 15 different fires with different things to try to make money while he fishes. And I know, Todd, I know you've done a lot of things too, where you try to maximize the most you can. I mean, you've always been that way. Whether it be incentive programs or picking the circuits that you fish that make the most financial sense. Everybody's kind of got their angle of how we can stay out here on the water, right? What else have you got on that list, John?
Oh, dude, it's so long.
Let's go over some of it.
Okay, let me give you guys a couple things that Todd's just been talking about. That's just like, dude, this is, first of all, I'm not going to go long depth of this, but the one thing I had was like, man, no matter what, you never lose your passion, your drive, and your love for fishing. You never lose it. You never let these struggles, and finances are going to be a struggle. A guy having better quality equipment than you, but that should never let that. If you get to the point where that's detouring your love for fishing, then you've lost your first love anyways, and you're going to lose in life anyways. So you've already put yourself on loser's row because you've lost the whole purpose. All of us have that story. From my first word was fish. All I remember doing as a kid was going down to the ditch, kicking over rocks, getting crawdads, figuring out a way to tie them to a hook, putting them out there by hand if I had to, running barefoot everywhere, like in the woods, finding a pond, and the love for fishing, man, it was just from the beginning. But I want to start with one of the statements that Todd made, and I want to give you guys just like a quote. All right. One of the comments he made, he said, the gaps of the haves and have-nots is getting larger. I agree 100%. He says, and he talked about the college guys with their $60,000, $70,000 rigs are learning how to play the game. And so here's to me what that allows for. It allows for people that don't have that $60,000, $70,000 rig as a kid or as an adult to feel like they're behind the eight ball. But here's my perspective on it. I think that failure comes with contentment. And a lot of these guys that have all the means, they don't know what it's taken, how hard the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to have those things. And I think that, there's a couple that have the hunger, but for the most part, they're content already with life. They don't know what life struggles about. They don't know. And so you know where they're at? They've plateaued already. All right. So I think, us that have come from lower levels have realized that we had to dig our roots way, way deeper for our trees to start growing taller. And so here's my quote to you, man. I think that, with hunger, when you're poor and you're hungry to be a professional fisherman, you have no means, you have no way. So it's going to do two things to you. You're either going to starve to death, or that hunger will drive you to become great. And that's where I'm at, is how do we feed that fuel and that hunger into other individuals and inspire them to become great and not starve and not cut themselves off, and, fuel that passion, fuel that love, fuel that fire, because there are opportunities in the fishing world, and it's not always to become Kevin Van Dam. For me, it never was to become Kevin Van Dam. I love winning tournaments, but my biggest love is just being involved in the industry, being a part of the industry. And that in itself is challenging enough the way it is, let alone going out and winning a tournament. So,
yeah, so 100, all that stuff. And like I said, I guess sometimes when I speak from my point of view, I'm not saying I don't want to throw some of that out there. I'm scared. I don't want it to be like, hey, look at me. Right. And so I'm hesitant to go on the give them my resume, give them where I'm from type. You see, like it, I don't ever want to come off as like I worked harder than you, I struggled harder than you, and I made like which that's just a me deal. Like I'm scared that it'll come off wrong, and so I don't know how to do that because like everything you just said, I agree with, and because I totally agree with what you said. Like I totally agree that like that fire and that hunger. I mean, man, and right after I talk, I'm gonna let Hallman talk about this. I'm gonna make Hallman talk about it, and he knows where I'm going with this because we talked about it today about this hunger. I'm like you. I wanted to be the best fisherman, right? I didn't really look up to anyone really until I got older, and it wasn't looking up to people. I started respecting people in the game of fishing like more and more because I knew more about them. Like I knew how they fished. I respected their fishing style. I knew how they went about the business as opposed to others. So there was guys as I've gotten older and I got to know them and how they did things that I respected. But as I've gotten older, my level of what I think I can become is not based upon where I'm at, like within the elites or my ranking here. It was more like, you know, I'm like you, I was glad I was in the industry, and I'm proud that I've been able to do it this long and not fall through the cracks. And then with my deal with Strike King now, I mean, this is my first real job ever, like of product innovation. And man, I'm so much more excited about this sometimes than tournaments because like I always kind of had this thing with baits, like, and it was just breaks. Like I always talk about, like in the video, I talked about getting breaks, right? Breaks are things that come out of nowhere that you never would have thought happened. And some of these were one of the best breaks and worst breaks of my life was with Strike Pro, right? It was one of the worst experiences of my life dealing with a company. But on the flip side, it gave me all the negative turned to positive because it turned me into Strike King of understanding the business and some things coming from it. And this isn't a knock on Strike Pro overseas, like they've been awesome, but some of the stuff that happened here in America was rough. And so all that stuff, like you said, like the older I've gotten, becoming more in the industry, I love this industry. I still think there's some things wrong with it. But that's with anything, but it's a great group of guys when guys like all of us all meet up at ICAST, and it's really cool to see all of us kind of interact within everyone because it's a pretty close-knit family when you agree. Like it's about as close-knit of a family as I could ever imagine within an industry. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. But yeah, so I agree with you, John. I do want to talk. I want to let Hallman speak on. Is that all right, Hallman? Do you mind speaking on the drive thing?
Yeah, like that's I talked to John about it a little bit too. I mean, both of y'all are good friends of mine. It's something that I fight, and I fought it for a long time. I mean, I fought it back in 2011. Todd, you saw me down at Toledo Bend my last year on the Elite Series when, I mean, dude, I wasn't even weighing fish. If I didn't have enough fish day one of a tournament to get a check, then I just didn't weigh them. Fought over that and came back and had some success later on. But yeah, I fought that my whole life. Like, well, the latter part of my career. And I don't know why I fight it, but I fight keeping that. It's not the love for fishing. It's tournament fishing, and it just beats on you, right? We all know about that. And the struggles are hard. The successes are great, but they don't come around every day, you know, and we can't all be John Souckup and light a tour up like we're King Kong. But no, that fire is why I surround myself with guys just like y'all, because it helps breathe into what my oxygen. Does that make sense? Like there's a lot of truth in the sayings of you are what you surround yourself with. And I try to surround myself with dudes just like y'all, because it is a very positive influence on my fire. It keeps it going. It's why I'm here tonight talking bass fishing, which is what I love to do. What John was talking about a little bit, dude, Todd and I both, like just from fishing Toyotas and stuff, regional BFL stuff here in Oklahoma and Texas, I can tell y'all that, listen to me, the dudes that pull up to the ramp with the nicest, shiniest, fanciest boats with all the gadgets on them are not the dudes we're scared of. The dudes that scare us, and we know who they are the dudes that generally got the mud lines down the side of it. That one boy that's there at Rayburn, I can't think of his name, Todd. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that boy's boat is pretty rough. And when I see him and it's a sight fishing derby, I always am concerned.
Scott David.
Huh?
Scott David.
Yes.
He ain't
always concerned.
He ain't around no. Well, he's around, but I don't see him very much anymore.
Right.
I used to fish with him. Yeah.
So there's guys like that out there that the shiniest and the greatest boat is man, these ain't boat shows we're going to, guys. They're not. So like I had somebody make a comment on one of my social media deals the other day about how he'd like to get a new boat. He's like, I don't have the nicest one in my club. You know, he's fishing out of a metal boat or something. Dude, that has nothing to do with how many fish you catch at all. Like John's right, 110%. If you got the fire to do this, there's lots of ways to skin an onion. What's the saying? There's many ways to skin a cat. Dude, there's lots of ways to do this. And, you know, all the technology and everything in the world is not, it's great. And it's changing the sport. There's no doubt it's changing the sport. But you can still use your rod as a depth finder and go, how deep is this? And you can go Tommy Biffle style and you can still dominate some tournaments. There's no doubt.